hope Gary Gensler loses his job, because his dragging of his feet and saying we're just going to prosecute anybody that I choose to prosecute in retrospect is no way to regulate the world's largest financial market. It's irresponsible. It's not fair on individuals. It's not fair to shut people out. What they did with XRP, suddenly decided in retrospect, we're going to basically shut them out of the US system. There's a bunch of retail investors who are holding it. They're forced out, or they're forced not to be able to trade their tokens. Is inexcusable. You need to create better guidelines for people. And it needs to be reasonable regulation. You need to listen to the industry and not shut them out and claim that you know what you're doing for your own self-interest of your job. All of the big financial players want to get involved in DeFi. Gary Gensler will not make it clear what they can do and what they can't do. So they're stuck in this no man's land of having no idea, which is, again, ridiculous. We're talking about the world's biggest financial institutions going, hey, listen, guys, can you help us out here? And they refuse to do so. And instead they prosecute Tornado Cash without giving any proper guidance. We can't just prosecute people for something they've done without knowing they've done wrong. And then forcing people to go offshore to do stuff outside of the hand of the regulators, because the regulators won't create clear guidance. And again, people like Brian Armstrong have been saying this very clearly, going to DC, as has everybody, and they're not listening. So what you ended up with was a spokesman who was a bloody crook, going to DC with money, bribing people for his own business interests, when the broader crypto community has stuff to say here. They're happy for some form of regulation, and it needs to be done sensibly that takes into account things like DeFi, which Sam Bankman-Fried was not taking into account. It appears from what we know that Alameda went bust in June, and out of that they tried to paper over the cracks with customer money to hide the issues, because it would have brought down the exchange anyway because of the tie-ups with the FTT token. And then this whole thing gets exposed by CZ, but really the market needed to know this stuff. So what are the knock-on effects? Well, normally if Alameda had gone bust, the knock-on effects would have been Celsius and BlockFi, etc. They already went bust. So we've got the knock-on effects of FTX having bought them and then can't fund them, but I think that was a kind of known failure. So is there somebody bigger here that is yet to get knocked on? You know, there could be other shoes to drop. I don't know really who they are or what they are. You know, people have been looking at Genesis, Jump, and the other market making firms. Is it possible? Well, they've all said no, but as we know, that means nothing in this world, because everybody says no, we're all fine. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I am biased towards, if there is another sell-off, you want to start aggressively adding into it. Where we are now is the liquidity cycle has now met the bottom of the exponential trend, the adoption trend, and that becomes an extremely interesting time to focus on accumulating crypto. What also happens at the bottom of liquidity cycles is things blow up. Less money around means those worst borrowers and people who have abused capital tend to blow up. And we saw that starting in June in the crypto markets, as the centralized finance part, the CeFi part of crypto, blew up as credit became less available, and you start seeing who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. And there was a whole bunch of people swimming naked. What we didn't realize is there was a naked whale, and the naked whale was FTX and Alameda. Not all exchanges are going to zero. I mean, people like Coinbase run really good exchanges. I'm pretty confident of places like Kraken. Now, you can't be 100% confident in anything, but Kraken run a pretty conservative business model. And so several exchanges do. So don't assume every exchange is terrible. We've seen it in financial markets. Not every bank is terrible. Not every brokerage house is terrible. But Christ, we've seen banks and brokerage houses go bust. We've seen hedge funds go bust. Not every hedge fund is terrible. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just realize that in FTX, there was bad management and fraud, and that deserved to go under. It did not deserve to take people's money with it, and it's horrific. The reason I got into crypto in the first place, I realized that you could self-custody, own your assets outside of the financial system, and nobody could touch them. That is the key thing about the crypto markets that make them different. Every time you go closer to what the traditional financial market looks like, you are adding on risk. Custodying Bitcoin, Ethereum in your own ledger device or Trezor device is as low risk as you're going to get. Now, obviously, there's all the password elements and remembering your seed phrase, all of that, but it's then down to you. You are responsible for your own money. I like a world where we're responsible for our own money. Like, I'm responsible for my own car, my own house. Somebody else isn't responsible. Why should I do that with my crypto or my money? And so I think it's a really important thing. Now, of course, we all need to use exchanges. So what do we do? You do your trading on exchange, you buy and sell what you want, you take it off the exchange. That's it. And you can do the same with your NFTs. I'm a huge Ledger fan. Just store them there. If it's shrapnel you don't care about and you want to trade out of it, sure, leave it in your MetaMask, leave it in wherever you want, but don't leave big balances. You don't need the risk. Crypto gives you the answer of not needing to take risk. So I love that.